everybody. I was going to say good morning, but it's afternoon. There I am. That is my pretty mug that brightens everybody's day. Turn that down just a little. I will be muting the mic occasionally so I can cough. I figure you'd rather me do that. Alright. There. That's a little better with the music. Let me know if those levels are okay for you guys. Kind of want to create a background music, but not, have it be overwhelming. So, thanks for joining me today, Gru and Pixel Sharks, as always. So, I have a new, there we go, overlay for my writing stream, a new scene, and here it is. Lots of white, I know, but it's a necessary part of the process. So this is the software I'm using here is, I don't know if you can actually see it up at the top. Yeah, it's not there. It's called Scrivener. I actually considered trying to move Scrivener. Here, let's try that. And then bring it down. There we go. So it's more focused on the writing. I think that's better. I think actually because of that little thing at the bottom there, which I can't change right now, I'll move it like that so you guys can see the writing. There we go. Tweaking the new stuff. Okay, so I'm working on the third book in my series here. The book that comes before... turn that off. The book that comes before this one is Fall, which is the sequel to Rise. So I'm currently working on the scene where one of the characters has turned up in a place that he's not familiar with people that he is familiar with who have no clue who he is. So, I just noticed that I might benefit from a little bit of black. Let's get... let's make it 800 by 800. Nothing like fixing things on the fly. Let's cover me up for a moment. There. That's better. Probably doesn't need to be that big, but hey. Let's make it 400. That better? Maybe. There. Alright, mute. Really need this cold to go away. Okay, so as I said, a character from the series turned up someplace he's not familiar with. Who he's encountering people who he is familiar with, who have no clue who he is, like at all. They are completely and totally lost as to who he is. There, if I step a little to the right, I won't go too far off. Just shrink me down a little. That works. So, let me do a quick perusal of what I have here. Okay, so he's encountered this character who I initially stopped writing the scene because I didn't have a name for her. For now he's calling her V. And they are getting to know each other a little bit. I think once I actually get to the writing, I will mute the mic while I'm writing, so if I need to cough, I can just cough, and then I'll unmute when I want to comment or something. Just doing a perusal of the scene, so I'm familiar with where I was going. I had to take a break from this for a while because of excessive work and then other things going on. Okay. So I'm establishing the basis for this relationship, which pretty much exists almost entirely through this book. And has some effects reaching into the next book. But at the beginning of the story, they don't really know each other. I have the major framework of this book figured out, but there are a lot of details in between that I haven't already figured out. So it's a matter of getting to these big signposts that I already know are going to happen. This meeting was one of them. There's also information going on There's also scenes going on with a couple other characters that I have to keep balanced so that I can provide the reader with all the information that they could need as they go through the story. I had to introduce another POV because prior to this, the only people whose stories were being interviewed were Quentin, Michaela, and during the last book, Fall, Suyef became a character that Logwin was speaking to. She also had some time talking with the Nidfar, but that was very limited. So in this third book, in order to tell some of the other parts of the story that are going on, I had to introduce not introduce a new character, but introduce a new narrator into the scene. Not a new narrator, a new interviewee who Logwin is narrating when she writes this stuff. And that individual, for people who have been watching this, is Mortok. Logwin was compelled to go find him and start interviewing him so that she could get a feeling on where the story was going. And then over time, she re-encountered Quentin and started asking him about this part of the story. This part of the story, unfortunately, pardon that. This part of the story, unfortunately, does not involve a lot from Suyev's character. So what he can contribute to the story is very, very, very limited. I forgot to try something. I rearranged my microphone. I fixed my microphone, the best way to say it. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't realize there was something there for me to hit. Let me mute this for a moment while I fix it. Alright, we're going to try having it up above, over here to the side for now, just to see how it goes. I'm going to make one more tweak to it. So the idea being that it's facing a direction that can still pick me up but not be right in front of me. Or between my eyes and the keyboard, which sometimes I do look at. Oh, well, thank you to my bot for sharing a tweet. Apparently doesn't appear in the on the channel thing that I'm seeing on the stream. Oh, there it is. don't know why it always shows me that something's been deleted, but it shows you guys the link. It's still very confusing to me. So, anyway. So I'm gonna this particular point in the scene right here. The girl V is becoming interested in. She's becoming concerned because she thinks that the main character Quentin may have struck his head. So he doesn't remember anything. But in reality, he now remembers everything, but he can't tell her that. So he's kind of going to let her run with the idea that there's something wrong with him, which plays a part in how another character in this particular area of the story takes a liking to him, because otherwise, without that concern, she never would have. It's the character who he was just speaking with when he was talking about where the other flavors of the nutrient pack right here, the other flavors seem to have vanished, and he heard a childlike sound, a snickering of a child. That's the character who her concern over his mental state is going to make it easier for her to connect with him, which is important for the finale of this book. So now I'm doing just a little bit of inner monologue. I don't like to do a lot of inner monologue, just like I don't like to do a lot of exposition, long form exposition. I prefer to let the story tell itself. I prefer to let the characters tell the story, I don't like to do long exposition. Unless there's action going on, then it's not really exposition. I'm telling you what's happening in a scene. I just don't like to do long blocks of text that aren't being spoken, especially when it's internal dialogue, because one of the things I really disliked about The Wheel of Time was that most of the problems that they had could have been avoided if people just talked to each other instead of constantly avoiding having the conversations that needed to happen. It was just a non-stop point of frustration for me all the way through that series. And it was really sexist about the author, because he basically, and towards both genders, because he kind of wrote all of these characters into these stereotypes where the females always looked down on all of the males because they just considered them stupid, and the males didn't want to try to understand the females because they were these mythical, not mythical, but like confusing creatures that had their ways that they needed to be handled correctly. It was that way through the entire series, and I hated that. Then again, most modern drama that you watch on TV is the same way. If people would just actually talk to each other, we wouldn't have it. But they really wouldn't have a plot for most of those stories. And if you go back and watch older stuff from the last century, half the time, if they just had a cell phone, most of the drama that was going on wouldn't happen. Watching Stranger Things and Stranger Things 2 brought that to the film. It's like, man, if these people just had cell phones, a lot of this would have been so much easier to handle. But hey, at least in that case, TV writers sticking to that trope of people not being able to communicate with each other for whatever reason worked in that era because of the lack of technology. People just refusing to talk to each other. Bleh. It's lazy writing. So, just a little bit of background for you. The citadel that he's thinking of is the citadel where at the end of Fall, a major scene happened there. It was the big finale of book 2. When he came, then it ended with. Okay, I'm trying to do this as spoiler free as possible. It ended with him being trapped in something. When he came back out of that, he was not in the same. The thing that he got trapped in was not in the same place. Okay, so and the people that were there didn't recognize him and looked younger. So he's still trying to piece together what changed. Because his expectation of it would be, oh, they moved the device, but why are they younger? He would think they would be older, and they would know who he is, and they didn't know who he is. So he's starting to piece together that he may not be in the same location that he was prior. More specifically, he may not be in the same time as he was prior. That the natural conclusion is that he might not necessarily be in the same citadel that he was when he went into this thing that trapped him. That at a later time or a previous time, either one, whichever works out to be true, that they could have moved the device that trapped him. We'll use that one again. I'm really trying to keep my mind in both of their minds. Even though the story is being told from his point of view, I'm trying to really make sure that I pay attention to what would be going on in her head as she's hearing this. This is a complete stranger to her who she just witnessed falling from a great height. Even though he had some technology to help him, he clearly was not that much in control of it because he went crashing through a bunch of trees. When he finally came to, she had taken him somewhere secret on the assumption that he was trying to get away from the people in the Citadel, and not knowing what his story was, she decided, instead of showing the authorities where he was, to take him somewhere where she could care for him first, find out what his story is, and decide what to do from there. In the process of that, she's starting to develop these concerns that something may not be right in his head, mainly from the fall. So I'm trying to keep that in mind as when I write her responses to what Quentin is saying. Okay. You'll see me make a lot of faces as I'm trying to figure out how best to describe the face rather than just saying she looked confused. Well, what does looking confused look like? Looked confused, just I'm telling you. She stared at me in a confused manner. I mean, look at what does confused manner look like? I don't like doing that. I want to actually try to describe the face that you would see if you were looking at her. Now I'm just trying to like drop little hints of how Quentin, as much as he's gone through and everything, part of him is still, I don't want to say necessarily a little boy, but part of him still just wants to be, he just wants to have fun. He doesn't want to, for every moment, to be serious or about serious things, because through most of the story that's what it's been. He's either been telling the serious story of his past or he's been dealing with the serious story of the present. So every now and then you'll get these moments of him where he seems delighted by something that's just, for him it's just a wow. And all this stuff that's going on, the fact that these things still happen is important to him. So he likes to make sure that he appreciates them, or at least interacts with them, these moments when they happen. thank you for that follow there. One Opinionated. Welcome to the pack. Pretty soon I'll have all my rat emote ready. The rat pack is Zoe's idea. She's like, hey, we have them. Why not use them as your theme for your channel? Since she already gave that MS Gamer the minion idea. So how are you doing today? We're doing some writing, in case you haven't figured that out. If you want me to give you a brief rundown of what it is I'm working on currently, I can. Just let me know. Yep. I'm in my writing cave. It is a closet, basically. In this 2-bedroom apartment, there weren't many places that I could go. So I have my standing desk on one side of the closet, green screen right there hiding clothes. Not a lot of space, but hey, it works. And it's silent, so I don't have to worry about, people disturbing me when I'm doing my streaming and stuff. That was a big win for me there. Like, I need a place to be. This seems like the best place to be. So what are you working on in your writing? I'm working on the 3rd book in my series. First one is published. You can check it out here. Second one is soon to be put into production and should be available for pre-order in January. And I'd like to have this one done before the second one publishes, and then the 3rd one done before this one publishes, so then the 4th one done, so this one is all done. I don't want to be waiting for years to get this out to people. Hey, all writing is good. It doesn't matter if it's something for like a big main project or just your everyday writing, as long as you're writing. I've been really lacking in my daily writing because of a lot of stress. Creative writing I've been lacking in. My current job is as a writer, so I write a lot. It's a detailed D&D character backstory as requested by my DM. It's several thousand words at this point. That is a very detailed character background. Feel free to share. I'm curious. I like hearing about characters. The character there are 2 characters in this scene that I'm working with. One is the main character from the previous books, one of a couple main characters, and the other is a character that's it's just introduced in this book, but the relationship that these two form is very formative on what comes after this book. Well, Bluebird is a great streamer. I like catching her stream when I can. Fortunately, I've switched all my work to the morning hours instead of the evening hours, so I'm not on as much when she's streaming. But I love her RPG playthroughs. I really don't get Skyrim. I'm not a fan of Skyrim. And mainly it's the controls. Was it a preview? Because I don't think I shared today in her Discord that I was going on. So were you looking at a previous posting? Yeah, it's got to be what it was from when I posted from before. Makes sense. Pardon my voice, I'm suffering from a cold. So if I occasionally mute the mic, it's because I'm coughing. I figure you don't want to hear that. But so yeah, one character, he's got a lot of history in the books, because he's one of the main characters. And this character that he's interacting with here, she calls herself V, because she doesn't really like the full version of her name, which is farther up here. I actually had to stop writing this for a while because I couldn't figure out what name I wanted to write one for. So I decided to just go with something simple just to get started. Yeah, V. Verity, that's her name. But she just goes by V. And it's very important, that name. It comes into events later in the story, and in her role in the main character's development. My character traveled cross country and had a few adventures. These will probably be revealed in game eventually, but I don't want to forget. Cool. What kind of character are we talking about here? What species? What class? I don't play D&D a lot, but I do have a lot of friends that do. I haven't played D&D, like straight up D&D, for a long time. We were going to do one for Extra Life a couple years ago, but then the people who were going to run it, they moved. We did a different version, something based off of a video game. Ended up being quite entertaining. Cough. Wow, a 450-year-old elf fighter. What's an average lifespan for these elves? So is in her race's view, is she approaching middle age, or is she a teenager, or what? 700, so she's just a little bit past middle age. Impressive. Hey Sarah, how are you doing today? We're doing some writing in the third book in my series. It's nice to have you here for the stream. Sarah is a regular. She's a mature person. My latest characters have more life experience. Well, that's a mature person would have more life experience. That is true. I really need to fix. At this point, I've been doing it for so long, I don't know if I'll ever be able to fix it. But I can't just let a typo exist. I have to fix it right away. And unfortunately, a lot of times, because it's just like a word or two, instead of just grabbing the mouse and clicking to fix it. Sorry, I thought I had a cough going. I just erase what I wrote. So we have a Rise reader here. Yep, this is Shattered. So this is the third book, and as you're familiar with the characters, this is a scene with Quentin. He at the end of book 2, he got trapped in something, and when he came out of it, he found himself in an unfamiliar place with people that he recognized, but they appeared younger, and he wasn't sure why, and they didn't know who he was. So he fled. In the process of flying, he crashed into some trees. Yes, it does interrupt the flow, opinionated. I agree. And the character that he's interacting with here, her name is Verity. She goes by V. She found him and figured he was probably running away from somebody, but rather than just turning him in, she decided to take him someplace and let him share his side of the story before handing him over to anyone who might be looking for him. But at this point, she doesn't actually know because she's been with him the whole time. And she's taken him into caves underneath one. He was in a citadel still. He was in a citadel when the event happened, but when he came out, he was in either a different part of that citadel or a different citadel entirely. So, and these two are just kind of getting to know each other. Their relationship, as I've explained to the viewers already, their relationship is pivotal to the development of this book. Particularly the development of Quentin as a character as it flows into the fourth book. You've read the book, so you know the state in which Logwing encountered Quentin. This right here, the things that are happening here are the beginning of that. We're forming the foundation for what leads him in that direction. No worries, opinionated. Take the time you need. So yeah, the state that he was in when Logwin found him, this right here is the beginning of technically you could say the whole thing, the whole story has been that, but more so than before, what happens in this book, but starting with this relationship, sets him on the path that leads him to where he was when Logwin found him. I don't need it shrunk like that. There we go. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I've got almost 400 words in this session, and I do want to do, I think on the next session I may do a little bit of story plotting for some of these minor scenes. As I said at the beginning when I was reviewing the text, I know all the major signposts of this story, but some of the finer details in between, I kind of leave those for me to work as the story goes, knowing I just have to get to a certain signpost. I'm almost 18,000 words into this, so a fifth of the way through, towards the projected goal of 100,000 words. So the next session I will likely spend a little bit of time doing some storyboarding just so I can lay out some of the threads, because I got a lot of threads going on here with multiple characters. There's Quentin's character, there's Quentin's thread, there's Michaela's thread, there's Mortock's thread, there's the Dragon Queen's thread. There's a lot of stuff going on in this book. So I may take a moment the next stream to do some plotting just so I can see where certain scenes are need to actually happen, and what freedom I have in between those to add some more in, particularly character development, which is what a lot of the stuff in between those signposts are. So before I head out, for those of you who are interested, if you go over to this link on Patreon, you'll find information on how you can help me continue to do writing. Of note, a certain level of support in there, those backers are going to receive an alpha copy of Fall, probably today or tomorrow, and anyone who joins subsequently will also receive it. So people who are really eager to read the sequel to Rise, if they've already read Rise, or who go pick up Rise later, this is the link where you can go check that out. It's on Audible, so Amazon, Kindle, paperback, you can get it at any store, or you can get it on Audible. Make it easier to go through your day and listen to it. I had no input into the production, but I love the reader that they chose. He nailed Suyev's voice. But yeah, so the alpha copy of Fall is pretty much ready. I still have some editing to do, which is why it's the alpha copy. But you want to talk about getting some sneak peeks? You could actually get your hands on a very, very early copy of the sequel before it ever even comes out. So thanks for anyone who considers that. Thanks for everybody for joining me today. I appreciate it. The next creative stream I do will be Friday at noon. It will probably be a return to cross-stitching, although I may do an impromptu writing stream tomorrow, just because I like making sure I do the writing every day. That one will probably be a shorter one. The Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday creative streams are an hour long plus. If I do any impromptu writing streams, they will be 30 minutes. You can stay tuned to the channel, give me a follow. You'll find out when things come live. You can also follow me on Twitter to get updates as well. Yes, you did hear Cross Stitch Opinionated. I am currently, let me switch my scenes real quick. If you see that picture right there, I'm currently working on that picture. That thing. I'm working through the green on the left-hand side there, the dark green on the left-hand slope of the mountain. I'm making this for a fallen soldier, in this case a fallen airman. I've got the sky entirely done. I'm almost done with the mountains. Then I'm going to do the trees down here and the rest of the lake, and then I'll do the eagle, and then I will stitch his name from along the top left towards the center, and underneath that his birth year and the year he died. He just died 2 weeks ago today. Is today Wednesday? Yes, it's Fluffy streaming, so yes, today's Wednesday. 2 weeks ago today, he died from a heart attack while on duty. I wanted, when my mother first approached me with the idea of doing this project, I wanted it to be something that showed the family that I didn't just slap it together, that I put some time and effort into it. I didn't want them to think that the loss that they were going through was unimportant. So when I picked this one up and started on it, this was back in 2012. I haven't been making a lot of progress on it, but that's why I started streaming it. So that I could make sure that I was getting it done. And then my friend died, and I decided that was the family, because we never actually committed to a family. So, and yeah, so that will definitely be Friday's stream, most likely. So I'm going to wrap this up here, and thank you, Opinionated. I put a lot of time and effort into it, so knowing that it's going to someone that I know is it's bad, because it's someone I know that someone lost, and it's going to be bad period because it's going to someone who lost something. But I would still rather it go to I'd rather give it to someone who I know already than a complete stranger. Both would appreciate it, but when it's a family you know, it means a lot more. So I am going to cast a host. First, let's do a shout out for him to InstaFluff. He is a fluffy streamer who was the namesake for my Tuesday night RimWorld stream. That guy, he was there last night and watched as his character was massacred by a cougar before my character could save him. My character almost died from trying to save him. It was a bloodbath last night on Fluff World. You can catch those episodes in the VODs or on YouTube. The YouTube channel is that one. Lots of links for you guys. So I'm going to do my little closing screen, and then I will immediately send a host towards InstaFluff. Hope I see some of you there. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Yeah, Sarah, Fluffy died, and there's a clip. Here, let me find that clip for you before I duck off. I could not. Here you go. I sound like a horrible human being in this thing. But yeah, enjoy that. The last 10 seconds, that's where it is. That's where I sound like a horrible human being, but you can watch the whole scene of him dying. And that was the beginning of the problems last night. So rip Fluffy, almost rip Guthron, almost rip that MS Gru. I lost, and Michaela went mad, so I lost one character to death, one character to madness, and 2 characters are now permanently maimed because of all of that. Oh, yep. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, alright, so I'll catch you over there. Thanks for joining.